Hello, Mr. Krümmel.
Hello, good afternoon. Very good to be here.
Yes, thank you very much for joining us today. And let me start from asking you about the position of the chairman of the International Arbitration Centre. What have attracted you to this position specifically?
Well, I'm a German lawyer, and German law has the disadvantage of not being compatible with too many other legal systems in the world. From day one as a lawyer, I worked in cross-border legal relations, in international contracts. But you always get to a stage as a German lawyer where you have to submit to the competence of other colleagues from other countries because they're qualified in their legal systems. So there always was a natural barrier, a natural stop to what I could do in international contract law as a German lawyer. That, of course, is an ideal situation when you're asked to be the chairman of the IAC, which is truly international, and where the job, the activity you pursue is not that of a lawyer, but beyond that, your job is to administer and to facilitate and to support lawyers and parties' representatives and, of course, arbitrators to proceedings in the best possible way. So that way goes beyond what I can do as a lawyer, and that's why I'm very happy to have been chosen for this position. Obviously, it's a great task I've got ahead of me, but I'm fully prepared to face it.
Yes, about the future of the AIC. It has been 5 years since the establishment of this organization. What are the main achievements of the work of the Arbitration Centre here in AIFC, and what is your vision of the future of this organization?
In that relatively short period of time, the IAC has been a great success. Just look at our case numbers. We're at 1,600 resolved cases to the full satisfaction of the parties in only 5 years, or more precisely in 1,500 and something days. And that is one case per day. One case per calendar day. So that already is quite remarkable.
Many, yes.
That is quite good. For an arbitration centre, of course, that was a complete newcomer when it was incepted in 2017. So that's already quite impressive. And this is not only owed to the fact that we have the most flexible and user-friendly and reliable rules for arbitration, the rules that parties to an arbitration choose to govern the arbitration process, but also a very highly efficient and extremely devoted administration and service here at the IAC, and of course a very highly qualified panel of 41 arbitrators from all parts of the world speak all sorts of different languages. They're absolutely world-class. They're really they're well experienced, they're motivated, and they work to the best of the parties. So that achievement, I think, is already pretty noteworthy, yes, if not to say spectacular. Now, my vision for the next 5 years, for the 5 years of my term as chairman, is simply put to make the AIC the hub of international dispute resolution in all of Central Asia. And I think we're well on the way to that, not only looking at the case numbers, but looking at other developments we've been starting and that we are, of course, obviously developing in the next few years. For example, IAC Chambers, which is a premier venue for one-stop shop international dispute resolution here at the fantastic premises of the IAC, where parties have a safe and service-friendly work environment. They've got meeting rooms, they've got all the modern technology, they've got every possible sort of support in preparing and conducting and even after proceedings in an arbitration. So that is something that we hope to promote and obviously be successful. And
you've just said more than 1,600 cases were considered by the Arbitration Centre. Is quite a number. I think it's very impressive. So what is the main subject which led to the disputes? And again, is it somehow related to the business climate of this country?
Good question, that. 1,600 cases from all walks of commercial law, really. A lot of them are contract law, mostly for non-payment or non-fulfillment, which parties would go to court normally about, but they chose arbitration.
Yes.
A lot of construction law, a lot of property law, both land and private, that's about the size of it. So just a range of cases, a range of subjects that would be commercial court cases normally.
And most of the cases were resolved by mediation, as I know. Now the number of cases resolved by arbitration, and its number is increasing. Why is it so?
Well, we have the 1,600 I mentioned is the number of cases resolved in both mediation and arbitration, because that's what we offer. We offer both mediation and arbitration. And actually, the IAC has a policy of trying to recommend mediation to parties, because what we really want and what parties want when there is a dispute in their relationship is to continue working with each other. If they're on a project, they want to continue the project. They don't want the construction to stop. They don't want the fulfillment of the contract to be stopped. So in mediation, behind the scenes, they can go quietly and in an orderly fashion about resolving that dispute and still face each other and not having any rupture between them. Now, of course, if that doesn't work, we do have arbitration as the alternative, if not the consequence. And in that case, of course, they will need full professional administration of the arbitration. But the 1,600 cases are a mix of both. And if the share of arbitration cases has increased over the years. There were very many mediation cases on the outset, and the share in arbitration cases has increased. This is because we've been quite successfully promoting arbitration and the clause in the contract to include arbitration, to submit any disputes to arbitration. We've quite done a bit of promotion on that, and more than 7,000 contracts, predominantly from parties, between parties in Kazakhstan and Eurasia and the wider region, have now been included in, have now our IAC contract clause, which is quite good. So obviously, if a dispute arises, parties will then resort to arbitration, and that explains the higher share of arbitration in the cases.
Returning back to the question of the business climate, you first visit Kazakhstan in 2019. Since that time, have you noticed some changes in creating conditions for the investors, for foreign investments, and for, yes, making conditions for resolving disputes as well? Yes.
It's interesting you should mention climate, because I have to tell you, don't laugh at me please, I have to tell you that the first time I got off the plane and stepped out of the airport in Astana, it was early in the morning, a nice spring day, I could see this gleaming big city in the background, but wherever I go on the planet, wherever I am at a new place, there's this one big nose of mine which takes complete control. I have this very strong sense of smell. So what happened that day is that my nose took in the smell of fresh grass from the Great Steppe, and my nose said, "You want to be here." And that's exactly what happened. So as far as climate is concerned, I was in love with the country, I was in love with its people, and I hope to further and deepen that relationship. Now, back to your original question.
Yes.
The changes and the growth, I mean, look around you. If you just look around you here in Astana, it's an up-and-coming future city. Many developments are there. There's a lot of new construction. There's a lot of new projects. A place like Almaty is the economic hub of the whole region, and many other cities and places in Kazakhstan follow course. That, of course, is something that has drastically increased over the past few years. Since my first visit, I've seen many constructions and new projects in the cities. The most important change for me, however, is the force and the thriving forward of young people. Kazakhstan which I think is absolutely great, is a country of so many young people, and if you talk to any of them, they're full of energy, they're forward-facing, they're ready to cross borders, they're ready to go beyond the usual, they're ready to invest their personal energies, and that is just the right direction, I think, if I can say that, that the country moves into. And obviously, we at the IAC, we love seeing that because obviously youth and well-trained young professionals are our future here as well. So, for example, through our internship programs, where young students come to the IAC at a very young stage, they are trained here, and we are very hopeful and have managed in many cases to hire them later on as professionals for the IAC. So that is, in a nutshell, these are the most important changes I see in Kazakhstan, and they're really very, very motivating. And I must admit, coming from a country that's overaged now, I'm pretty envious of what I'm seeing here.
Talking about young people, AIFC, for the third year in a row, holds the Vice Primut competition in Astana. So tell us more about this competition, its agenda, its purposes, and why is it so important for this region in particular?
Well, the Willem C. Viz, as it's called after its founder, International Moot, is a program that's been around for many years. It's the most important international, or should I say global, mock arbitration competition, where students are in a situation where they have to experience a real-life case and decide on a real-life case and make submissions on a real-life case, which is from international commercial law. It's always very close to reality. This year it's about a delivery of an observation drone and some goings-on with a corrupt government. So it's quite near to what you later have in arbitration. And it has become a sort of landmark, if not a requirement, for a good student of international law who might consider being in arbitration later on to participate in the Willem C. Viz moot competition. Now that's the official competition launched by that institution in Vienna. What we do here, as in many other parts of the world, we have a pre-moot. In other words, a training run for the students, mostly from the region, but also from other countries. We have European teams, we have Asian teams, we have people from 8 CIS countries, 2 of them are Kazakhstan. So we offer them the chance to train at the IAC under realistic conditions to be party representatives in arbitration as a training for the actual show, for the actual competition. So when they're through here, they will actually do the contest in Vienna. It's an excellent training. We'll be having
preparation for that competition.
We'll be having the finals tomorrow. I'm glad to say my esteemed predecessor, Barbara Doman, KC, is here, and we will be the arbitration panel with one third colleague from the region, deciding on the 2 finalists who will emerge this afternoon. And one of the most interesting things about this year's pre-moot is that we have, I wouldn't say support, I wouldn't say sponsorship, but the investment of the United States Department of Commerce Commercial Law Development Program, the CLDP. They have greatly contributed to this. I think they've invested in young people, and much of what's going on here, 80 people here, or in Astana at the moment, staying at a hotel, being fed, being driven about, is down to the financing or the contribution of the United States. So thank you for that on this occasion. So
yes, and I think the main purpose is just broadening the opportunities for the young professionals.
It is. If you look at a CV of someone who wants to be hired by a law firm, and it says I was a competitor in the Willem C. Viz moot competition 2023, or indeed the Viz pre-moot in Astana, that is a big asset. And that's something we look for as lawyers when we hire young staff, when we hire young professionals. It's something we really look out for.
Let's get back to the AIC main achievements, which you already said as talk to us. So how can you assess the work already done to build a dispute resolution system in the AIFC, and what important steps are still ahead, in your point of view?
Well, the important work already done, obviously, consists in the first run in these 1,600 cases we've already completed. We have to put it in a nutshell, we have put the IAC firmly on the international map of arbitration in only just 5 years. It is a clear address that is known and respected throughout Kazakhstan, of course, in Eurasia and the region. And we're constantly working on developing that, on furthering that, as I said, through the IAC chambers, but also through the training program, the training center, which is a kind of brand for all sorts of different efforts we're making here for onward professional training, starting from students, but also for judges, arbitrators, or administrative staff. A whole lot of seminars, lectures, internship programs, training courses are held at the IAC throughout the year. We're just working on this year's program, which will be particularly attractive. Also, of course, IAC chambers and the moot competitions. There's also there's one interesting competition in mediation for high school students. We will have 100 high school students from selected Kazakh school projects here at the IAC to learn about mediation, which might help them in their real life too.
Yes,
because if you know about mediation, you're qualified to get out of the way of trouble privately. So that is what we're trying to develop. If I can say what my vision is as new chairman of the IAC, I can put it in a simple sentence. I want the IAC to be the hub of international standard alternative dispute resolution in Central Asia, not just here, but in Central Asia. Do
you face it as a challenge, as a big challenge for you?
Oh, I do, but also as a chance, as an opportunity. Maybe the fact that I come from Germany, that I'm a German, will help, because the IAC and all that it offers doesn't seem to be on the map of the main players investing into Kazakhstan. If you look at the list of foreign direct investments into Kazakhstan, the US are in place number 1, and then you have Germany, France, Italy, the UK, and then a lot of other countries after that. But for example, in Germany, no one among the enterprises that should be interested in what we do has us on the map. So we're definitely working on that. I've already taken first steps to do that. And it is really attractive for such parties because, just as a supplementary information, one of the big advantages of the IAC is that awards under the IAC rules are directly and immediately enforceable in Kazakhstan. You don't have to go through any international convention. There's an execution order by the AIFC court, and Kazakhstan will enforce, or we can enforce in Kazakhstan, the awards that are
a national legal system as well.
Yes, and imagine someone in Germany, you have a judgment by a state court or a judgment by anything else, an arbitral award. You have to go through steps to enforce that. It can be very difficult. If you tell a German enterprise who invests 100, 200 million into Kazakhstan, they trade with Kazakhstan every year, whether it be energy, technology, anything like that, there are a lot of enterprises in place. If you tell them you can have, in any case of dispute, an arbitral award under fully professional conditions, impartial, independent, highest quality arbitration, and you can directly enforce that in Kazakhstan, their answer is, and I tried that out already, why don't I know about it? So that's one of the things I'm clearly, as you can hear, I've clearly got on my ticket.
Thank you very much, Mr. Krümmel, for your time and your answers.
Thank you for having me.